Thank you very much, Eileen, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. And thank you again for joining today's call. For those folks who did go to CA World, we had some really great packed sessions around CA Performance Management and CA Virtual Network Assurance. You may recognize some of this content because we did have a What's New section and session at CA World, but thanks again for joining us today. Melissa, if you can pass the ball to me.
Sure thing.
And we will get started. And again, my name is Jeremy Rosbeck. I'm the Product Marketing Manager for the products we're talking about today. Joining with me today is from our Product Management team, Jason Normandin, as well as from our pre-sales team, Bernie Claremont. So we're happy to talk about the new content, the renew lease enhancements, and also provide a demo of each area that we're going to discuss today. And as the operator said, we will have a Q&A session, but I'm sure you all know that you can submit any questions via chat, and our team is on the line to tackle those questions in the chat window when you submit them. So why don't we get started here? Again, we will dive deep into the feature areas that support the 3.0 release of CA Performance Management as well as the 2.0 release of CA Virtual Network Assurance. They are specifically Cisco ACI, software-defined data center monitoring. We'll talk about the advantages that are in the product that deal specifically with service providers and how they can start optimizing costs with the new release enhancements. Of course, we're always looking to improve the user interface, so Jason will talk about the enhancements that have been done in that area, and then some more feature areas around a performance management lite offering, how we have hit 4 million monitored items in our mega scale enhancement, as well as last mile or broadband monitoring as well. So why don't we get started into the Cisco ACI area. So, you know, as we all know, cloud computing and software-defined data center architectures for modern application delivery in today's app economy make today's networks much more sensitive, and sensitive is a great word to use with the fact that we're able to deploy in virtual networks now based on software-defined networking thousands and thousands of new virtual network devices with the click of a mouse. You can imagine how sensitive and delicate our networks are going to become when it comes to neighboring devices that depend and have relationships and dependencies on other aspects of the network. When something goes down, we need to know right away in this new virtual network and software-defined network architecture exactly what's affected, what it's tied to, and how it's affecting the user experience. So for those folks that were at CA World, you know, we did talk about software-defined WANs. We had a really packed session there. A lot of customers really interested in looking to deploy software-defined WAN. So, of course, that is a use case that we will be tackling and are tackling today in the new releases. In the service provider area, as we talked about, last mile monitoring, broadband monitoring, virtual CPE monitoring is very important to them. And then software-defined data centers. So whether it's private cloud or public cloud, the network is the path to the cloud. It is something that can't be ignored. It's something that cannot be a bottleneck. And of course, modern network performance monitoring is key to success. So that's why you see this architecture here with performance management and our CA Spectrum solutions tied and integrated into virtual network assurance as an add-on to those very reputable and outstanding products to be able to see into these new modern architectures to do what they do best, right? So fault and performance management, and so elegantly complemented with virtual network assurance to be able to do what they do best in these new focus areas. So why did we dive into Cisco ACI? Well, again, for those folks who aren't familiar with Cisco ACI, it is a new SDN and NFV architecture tied and designed for cloud data centers, again, private or public. And of course, it automates the provisioning of network resources tied to application demand. So as demand goes up for applications, it automates network provisioning resources to meet that demand. And as you can see, Cisco ACI is already taking off. There's over 7,000 customers out there. This is not something that is just on the design stage. It is getting implemented today. But with that comes a very complex way to start monitoring networks. As we mentioned, the ability to automate network resource provisioning can make and break away how network operations do their jobs today. It can create a lot of headaches. The fact that automated network provisioning based on application demand, when things get spun up automatically, we need to be able to monitor that. We need to be able to visualize that. We need to be able to let you guys know, our customers, what's going on out there, the dependencies and the relationships, and how they're performing from a health perspective. So end-to-end relationship mapping was one benefit for confidence in how things were provisioned, how it's affecting the application for troubleshooting, health views of your Cisco ACI system. So again, everything that we have done in the past, just applying that monitoring capabilities to new technology like Cisco ACI. So what does it look like from a high level? As you can see, CA Performance Management and CA Spectrum with the add-on of CA Virtual Network Assurance gains visibility in the Cisco ACI software-defined data center architectures. So no new GUI to learn, no new administrative console. It just allows CA Performance Management customers to be able to do what they do best and discover new network technologies out there. So for example, auto-generated group contacts when Cisco ACI devices are discovered by Virtual Network Assurance and pushed into performance management. Of course, faults, top-end dashboards, at-a-glance dashboards to show the health of your Cisco ACI deployments. Context pages applied to the logical ACI components that you will be deploying out there. Of course, supporting Nexus switches from a health perspective, from a context drill-down perspective, and of course, on the Spectrum side, again, doing what Spectrum does best, auto topology discoveries, overlay and underlay. So if something is affected in the underlay or the physical layer of your Cisco ACI deployments, what is affected from the underlay perspective. So again, mapping those dependencies, mapping those relationships to be able to show you exactly what's connected, how it's performing, and how things are determined and tied to each other. So for example, new relationship maps, here's a quick little screenshot of that. So being able to give our customers a quick determination of what's connected, what it's tied to, how things were provisioned, if they were provisioned successfully. Neighboring items, of course, are very important when it comes to virtual network provisioning, validating that configurations are provisioned correctly, understanding and visualizing root cause, and then, of course, between the fabric layers, the logical layers, physical, virtual layers, determining and understanding those relationships. So easy to use, easy to understand relationship mappings for Cisco ACI deployments. And before we get into a demo of this focus area, just some more screenshots to show you from an ACI console point of view, being able to drill down into all the leaves and the spines to be able to understand exactly how things are mapped, how things were provisioned, if things were provisioned successfully. So the ACI console in CA Performance Management is your launch pad to get that global view to see how components are performing, how they were configured, how they were provisioned, and then, of course, CA Performance Management doing what it's always done so well, now applying health scores and health dashboards to your ACI deployments as well. So why don't we drill down into this, and Bernie, I'm going to hand you the ball here to get into the demo.
Thanks, Bernie.
There you go.
So with our latest installation with VNA 2.0 and our latest release, you actually get a set of dashboards for ACI that come along. So in order to give you more visibility for the folks that are really interested in this, you'll have anywhere from your help desk knock. We really try to keep the dashboards around the personas that are going to be using this. So there's the ACI console, your ACI health, and also your switch overview. And that covers those folks like your fabric admins, your tenant app owners, the tenant admins, as well as your ACI sysadmin folks. Each dashboard, has views that cater to them and also make it very easy to see what's going on in the environment. What we've found really as we partnered with Cisco and with our customers on the ACI monitoring is that, there's a couple of different ways, and it's a paradigm shift to really monitor and manage this environment. And to create that topology so you can see where your endpoint groups are, VPGs, as well as the spines, the leaves, how everything's connected. A lot of folks take the networking approach and just say, we're going to manage this as a network only, but we're going to put our ACI fabric into app mode, and then that ensures that as you migrate, then you're ready for the application piece. And other customers have taken it just full on and just said, we're going to do the whole thing and make it so you can just dynamically spin up applications and tear them back down, and that the app owners have the ability to do that. But ultimately what happens is you create this complex environment, maybe easy to automate and to set up, but the things that get lost in translation are how does the help desk or not figure out where they're, where the actual service is being presented, what switches does it use, what fabric is it using, where's it at, and what's the health of that environment. So we've created our console, this ACI console view that Jeremy showed a quick slide of, to make it so you can quickly see that. And so as you drill in, you can see exactly, here's my OpenStack application profile, here's the endpoint groups that are part of this. So, whether it's development, prod, lab, what 4K does that access in the endpoint group, as well as, what are the leases associated with this. And so you get this quick visualization that helps you ensure that the way that it was deployed actually maps to what you expected to see, as well as you can quickly click on the link here to see what the health is of that environment. And so we use bubble up technology as you'd expect to say what are the worst offenders, they're going to come to the top. So, and then as you mouse over, it's going to update. So your lowest trend health scores will be up here, and then you have your faults on the right. And any of these you can click on and you can hide or focus. So if you have something that, is skewing your view, you could simply choose to focus on that. And then as you scroll down, you have your major and your critical faults. Maybe you have a particular switch that might be, causing more issues. You can quickly see that and be able to troubleshoot that. So this allows, not only the help desk and NOC people that are the front line that don't necessarily understand the technology of how things are deployed to quickly see the health of that environment. And you can see up here that, this dashboard just leverages, the crumbs that come along. So if you needed to change anything, they can simply just click on change and then drill in and reuse the dashboard. I'm going to move over to another view within the ACI console. This is more around the fabric. So your ACI sysadmins would probably be the main folks that would focus on this. And as we've discovered it, you can quickly just drill in, and then you drill into your fabric, and then you'll have your pods, and then you just click on whichever leaf or spine you wanted to look at. And then here you'll actually have your switch health as well as the ACI health. But you can ensure that you can see exactly how the apps profiles are deployed and what they're attached to. And so again, if I click on ACI health, I'll now see the health associated with the pod that I was trying to troubleshoot or that I was trying to check out. To be able to tell, maybe there's a help desk ticket that came in and you're trying to tell where your critical faults are or what's going on. You can quickly drill into that and see exactly which switch interfaces associated with the leaves or the spines are having issues. You can also have a switch overview that you can look at associated with the pod. So that other link that was there that was a switch overview, and this gives you an overview of your switches. So you can see exactly what the health is there. And basically, from that, you now also have your ACI health. So you can see the overall health of the environment, and you can apply that to any group that you have. Obviously, again, we use the bubble up technology. As you mouse over, it's going to give you exactly the health associated with this as far as the health score. And then as you scroll down, you can see what warnings you have, if there's any minor faults. If we had application profiles, you'd see all those listed, or your EPGs would be all listed here, and then you can click into those as well. The last dashboard I'll cover is really the switch overview. This is really your network admin guys are going to be looking at more of this, as well as, your sysadmin folks. But the nice thing about having these dashboards defined is that, you can hand out views to your tenant admins or the app owners, and everybody can use the same console. So you'll have a single source of truth for all of your performance data. So one place that everybody can go and see exactly what the health is, whether you're leveraging ACI as well as if you have other SDN or NFV related technologies deployed, we'll also have views for those. And then you can leverage the overall performance. And as Jeremy mentioned, we're vendor agnostic, so we capture the underlay as well as the overlay and combine that all with the VNA solution that we have.
The next area I'm going to look at here is what we're calling our MSP advantage, MSP for managed service providers. So when we built performance management, when we continue to refine, we're always looking at multiple implementations, multiple use cases. One of those key being our customers that are providing, say, performance management as a service. So there are managed service provider customers. So there's some unique opportunities to make life easier in the managed service provider world. But the important part, and the part that I try to emphasize, is even if you're not a managed service provider, a lot of the work that we do here simply makes operating at scale easier for everyone. So there's definitely benefits beyond managed service providers, but we're going to focus on a few of those specifics today that really bring some added value. So MSP Advantage, it's a collection of capabilities, and it's all about decreased cost and providing better service, right? Being able to better differentiate their services in the market, being able to provide new and innovative workflows and new analytics and data, and being able to do so in a cost-effective way so they can scale their business to meet their objectives. Minimizing the cost is a primary issue. It's a primary concern. Obviously, when you're dealing with a business model where you're trying to acquire and deal with volume, you need to understand the costs associated with that. And keeping those costs at a profitable level is something that we're very cognizant of, and I'll show you some of the work we've done there to help out. And another item is always being able to differentiate, always being able to offer different tiers of service. So being able to have more granular control, being able to provide more role rights, more role restrictions, and being able ultimately to tailor and tune the experience to a given set of users. Now, in an MSP environment, this can be used to monetize and to drive further revenue, but even within a non-MSP environment, this can really help to create some very user-specific workflows or role-specific workflows, right, to ensure that the members of your organization are going to be as efficient as possible. So this brings us and ends up with a reduced footprint. We're decreasing total cost of ownership, reducing the administrative overhead, driving simplicity, improving the security in our tenant model for our multi-tenancy, and improving our data modeling to ensure customers can get the right information to the right people, right? We call them the actionable metrics, or the metrics that matter, right? Being able to ensure that when a user interacts with a tool, they're going to be able to be efficient, they're going to be able to solve problems quickly, and get the information that they need to do their jobs efficiently and easily. So when we look at one of the initial aspects of our MSP solution in our multi-tenant environment, we have a concept of our data collectors, and we have a concept of having granular controls over role rights. Those are the two fundamental aspects, right? So when we look at multi-tenant assurance, and we look at including the ability to have multiple tools within our solution set, we want to ensure that our MSPs are able to differentiate those services and be able to provide various levels of service, various features based on the availability of those solutions within their environment. And this also, again, extends to non-MSPs, and such that you're able to tailor the experience based on the user, based on the role, so that they're going to see the data that they need and not be inundated or not be given greater permissions than you'd like them to receive. So with our new refined role controls, we're going to provide more flexibility as far as being able to control data source specific. So for NFA, for example, really being able to control the views that they're able to see within CAPC, as well as the actual ability to drill into the NFA console or to be able to schedule reports in the NFA console. The same thing goes with ADA and Spectrum. So it's really it's all about controlling those rights and providing the right roles, the right permissions to the right users. The next aspect is decreasing total cost of ownership. CA Performance Management was built from the ground up with a multi-tenant architecture. We relied originally on having a single data collector for individual tenants, so tenants had to have a hard divide on data collectors. As we talked with more and more of our managed service providers, this became an economical challenge. The ability to grow and to scale was being inhibited by the need to deploy new data collectors. So even if there was a small customer, they would still have to have their own individual. So what was introduced in 3.0 was it introduced the ability to share tenancy on a data collector. So we have what we're calling our tenant agnostic data collectors. This basically will allow you to create virtualized tenant definitions within a single data collector. We're really excited about this capability. We realize there's a subset of customers that will use this, but those that do will see a significant positive impact on total cost of ownership. Being able to better allocate hardware and to be able to better define their service models is really driving our MSPs and giving a very strong advantage. We've additionally added the ability to add multiple NFA data sources. So again, looking at the ability to scale and grow. Originally, we could have one NFA data source, and we know that NFA is an integral component of network performance. Understanding not just utilization, but what comprises that utilization is a fundamental need of our customers. Originally, you could have one NFA data source for CAPC. We realized that again is not fitting our scale model, so we've increased that, and we're allowing up to 10 NFA data sources integrated within a single CA performance center as well. Obviously, maximum scale limits do apply, so I would recommend anyone interested in this work with their pre-sales or the sales organization to make sure they're adequately sized. We're always being cognizant, and we want to make sure that user experience remains something that is going to drive customer satisfaction. As I mentioned, having greater control over data source role rights, being able to be more granular in giving permissions not just within, say, Performance Manager itself, but those permissions related to other data sources which are integral to various workflows that your users will be undertaking. So being able to control, as I mentioned, not just the permissions within State Performance Center, but provide those permissions to extend beyond for drill-ins, for example, to the NFA console and what they can and can't do. And just having a granular approach allows a lot of flexibility. One of the big additions we've made in 3.0 that I'm really excited about, and we've had a lot of great feedback, is our introduction of custom attributes. So this is basically a way that we're allowing customers to extend the data models for, in 3.0, for devices and for interfaces. We're allowing up to 10 custom attributes for devices and up to 10 custom attributes for interface. And these are something that we have implemented end-to-end, and I'll show you in a few moments a demonstration about how relatively simple this is to both define, set, and then leverage custom attributes in multiple areas of the product. This is a big change for us, and this is a big winner from what we're hearing from our customer base, and this is really an enabler to differentiate our product and to make and drive further simplicity and decrease cost of ownership by driving automation. As I mentioned, it's an end-to-end, so we can leverage custom attributes in other aspects of the product as well. And then the other really big initiative that we introduced in 3.0, again, looking to drive down total cost of ownership, is something we're calling metric filtering. So we've been working with many, many customers over the past few years. We've realized that customers really want to have better control over the space requirements of our data repository. Vertica is a big data store. It does a phenomenal job, but it requires some significant resources. Customers wanted a better ability to control that. So we looked at our metric model and we worked with customers, and what we found out is that there are a lot of metrics that we're collecting that are not being used, and we know that. But we want to ensure customers have the continued flexibility to take advantage of a rich metric set, but again, we want to marry that with the ability to control space usage and utilization of hardware resources. So in 3.0, we've added the ability to filter metrics from collections within monitoring profiles themselves. So this is a way that you can decrease your total storage footprint, and it's a way that you can further drive differentiation between service levels of various customers. So being able to go ahead and create multiple service tiers, for example, where you're actually collecting and storing different metrics based on the service tier that you're offering to your end customers, or storing different metrics based on the type of device it is, or based on the criticality of that device within your environment. So we're really starting to drive a lot of that flexibility around more intelligent data collection, and we're going to continue to drive that and continue to refine that. And we'll have an interesting demo in a few minutes from Bertie Claremont. But what I'm going to show you now, before we go there, is I want to show you what we're doing around custom attributes. So what you see here is basically, this is the definition of a new custom attribute. And this is all very, very well documented, but it's very simple. What we're allowing customers to do, as I mentioned, create up to 10. You can have up to 5 string and up to 5 integer. And the reason for that will become more apparent in a minute. But we're providing the ability to create a description or a label that best fits your need. And again, it's all about driving simplicity. So an example here is I'm creating a new service tier attribute on my devices. So say I have various customers that I'm managing, and those customers are in various service levels. I want to be able to differentiate that easily within the tool without having to go into some other tool to cross-reference. So here I've created this customer service tier attribute. That's basically, again, the service tier of a managed customer. I can then set that very easily, simply with a REST call referencing device ID. This can come right out of OpenAPI, and then providing my value for that service tier. I identified this as a string, and therefore I'm setting these with a string value. And then once I set that, it's a very fast process. So the biggest part of being able to leverage this is being able to look at and understand how I can, again, drive simpler automation and drive more sophisticated workflows and just make things easier. So I have a group here, managed customer tiers, and I've created 3 groups within there, bronze, gold, and silver. If I look at the rules for this, I see that I have an add devices rule. And basically what I'm doing is I'm leveraging this device customer service tier custom attribute that I created, and I'm just doing a string evaluation based on what I'm setting these at. So again, driven through a CMDB or an OSS integration, this becomes very, very powerful to really simplify the group administration and the overall just general administration of organizing my assets that I'm monitoring. So I have these 3 groups, bronze, gold, and silver. Again, automatically will add contents to that group based on the rule expression being evaluated. And if I go into then something like an inventory view, I can look at the columns that are available to me, and I can simply see that my new customer service tier model column is there. So I can easily add that to my views, inventory views, to be able to very quickly be able to understand without having to go to an external system. Additionally, these are available in performance views as well. So here I'm looking at an out-of-the-box dashboard, the infrastructure overview dashboard, and I see I have a CPU utilization and memory utilization tables. I can go in and, again, add my customer service tier directly into those tables as well, save those columns, And now I have that dashboard that's going to provide me that additional contextual information that's going to make my users more effective when leveraging the tool because they're going to have more information available to them to understand, and my end customers themselves will have more information available to be able to use the tool better as well. We didn't stop there, however. We wanted to continue and make sure we had a true end-to-end workflow. So even with an open API, I'm able to go in and select not just the standard attributes that are available out of the box, but I can also add my custom attribute we see here with service tier, and I can even add a filter, very quickly filtering on that service tier and looking for all those, for example, that are not empty, and I can go and then very quickly get a list of items that correspond to that service tier. So again, we're always thinking about enabling and driving better efficiencies with the product, the Open API and the app infrastructure we've created. We want to make sure that those are able to take advantage of this new rich feature set as well. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Bernie, and I believe Bernie's going to demonstrate the metric filtering capability.
Okay, cool. So just to continue on a little bit with what Jason had covered there, is, with those custom attributes, you can do cool things with the Open API and some JavaScript. And I know Jason in the future, not to steal thunder from him, we're going to promote this out into the GitHub repository for a weather map. So just wanted to kind of show that real quick from the standpoint of these type of views are something that's very dynamic, where you can just click on a circle, or you can reset your sites, and then just click on a location to see the links, mouse over them, get traffic, those kind of things. But from a metric filtering standpoint, there's a couple of things that have come about. One, usually you'd go into your data aggregator and you'd be able to see the monitoring profile. We've added some extra menus over here. So there's a monitoring profiles menu. So we'll just drill into that. And this, again, comes down to cost savings and resource savings that typically I'll find with my monitoring profiles, I'll always make copies of the ones out of the box. And so in this case, I made a copy of the interface monitoring profile, and you'll notice there's a couple of different buttons down here. So if you highlight the interface metric family, you not only have the ability to edit the component filter or clear the component filter, but you have the ability to edit collected metrics. And so this is where you get to go and select the things that you're interested in. You could just choose to do Control A and move them all over. And then based on the ones that you're interested in or that your users report on, you can then simply choose to pull those over. And then all of a sudden, that particular monitoring profile will only collect those metrics and only store those metrics. So again, this results in some huge cost savings. Some of the ways that you can go out and see that is you can come to the sizer. Our updated sizer that's on the support site has the pull down for 3.0. When you select that, you can go and tune the metrics per interface, things like that. So in this case, I just did standard default out of the box. All that I added was 5,000 here. We'll do a recalculation. You can see it takes 1.52 terabytes roughly for your performance management data repository, and that's going to be per node. So now if I go down and I change my average metrics per interface down to, like, say 10, based on, you would want to go and talk to your users and find out exactly what are the metrics that they want to see in their dashboards, and then you recalculate, you'll see that this significantly went down for your storage. So, again, these are some things you can play around with. Definitely look forward to getting feedback from the community about all these things. As far as how you see this being utilized, what metrics you guys really see that are important. I think it's a critical change, and definitely will help a lot of folks save a lot.
Yeah, we're really excited about metric filtering. It's really going to provide significant savings for customers that are being more conscientious and aware of that. You certainly recognize the financial impact, so definitely some really exciting stuff. 3.0, we also introduced a significant number of user experience enhancements, and we're going to go over just a few of them. There are quite a few, and I would invite everyone to take a look at the 3.0 release notes when we release and get a full understanding of all of the features that we've added and all the improvements we've made, but I'm going to touch upon a few of them today. the operational UI, and that's kind of how we're seeing CAPC fit into the market, right? That's your tool. That's your operational tool to solve problems, to understand your infrastructure, to be able to make smart decisions based on smart data, and that's our ultimate goal. We know there are a lot of roles. We know a lot of people are using the tool, so we have a real focus on persona-driven workflows, role-driven workflows. We really try to ensure that the right users can get to the right metrics quickly and easily. And we know easy is table stakes in app economy, right? We all have very little patience for complex products anymore. Some companies have done a wonderful job simplifying things, so we expect that to carry over, not just from our non-commercial experiences, but from our day-to-day work as well. So we have a very high focus on continuing to drive easy within our product. The problem with driving easy is sometimes it's easy to lose sight of flexibility, and we know, again, there's a wide range of users. There has to be a lot of flexibility built into the product. So being able to have both flexibility and simplicity, that's a tricky one, and that's something that we continually work on, and we've made a lot of improvements in 3.0 to continue to drive a good balance there. We added a lot of, as I mentioned, more controls for roles, and as well as other features. And we know that the complexity of technologies that we're monitoring these days, especially once we get into SDN and more virtualized environments, the technologies themselves become more complicated. So it becomes more difficult to administer and to use, and that's an issue that we're continuing to drive down. Customers need the ability to create customizations and to really drive a personalized fit and finish with their environment, and they need to solve problems quickly. Our ability to provide simplicity within the operational experience, that's a lot of experience within our team, right? So we've been doing network performance software in CA for a long time, whether it be Spectrum or eHelp or NetVoyant. We've learned a lot, and we've listened to a lot of customers, and we understand the workflows, and we understand how people want to use the product in various roles and organizations. So we're able to take a lot of that knowledge and really help and drive some simple, intuitive workflows within the product itself. And we want users to be able to approach the product without a significant amount of knowledge and get value immediately. And ultimately, what we're trying to do is drive less clicks to find problems, right? Being able to surface the metrics that matter, being able to surface actionable information more quickly and easily to a broad set of users. One of the first things that we did is we made a number of improvements to our context pages. The first thing, we've improved our suppression. So customers using our product prior to 3.0, when you went to a context page, there was a lot of information that was probably not relevant to what you were looking at. Sometimes that would be a lot of information that was irrelevant, or sometimes it'd be a little. What we wanted to do is really refine that experience. So no matter what you click within the product, you're going to get a view of the information that's relative to that particular item, rather than just a more generic approach. So in the example we see here, for example, this is looking at a couple of devices. One of them has F5 statistics, one of them does not. And they're both classified as routers. In previous versions, you would see all of the tabs for both of those devices. Now in 3.0, we're going to suppress information that's not applicable. So you can create kind of master context pages, if you will, and then only those sections that are applicable to what you're looking at will be revealed, therefore driving a far easier and more personalized experience. We've also enhanced our scorecards to add the ability to do multi-metrics, right? So we know our scorecards have been a hit. Customers have really adopted them very quickly, and we want to continue providing more use cases and providing better flexibility there. So we've enhanced our scorecards so that you can select multiple metrics, up to 5 metrics. Within a scorecard view now, so you're able to get better overall health statistic views across various metrics. It's still, at this point, limited to a single metric family, but there are a lot of use cases where this is solving some immediate customer needs today, and we're pretty excited about what it's going to do for a large portion of our customer base. Here's an example showing various metrics, and the key part to notice is that each of these metrics has their own threshold indicators. So you're able to, on a per metric basis, define what you feel is healthy or unhealthy to ensure that when you view your dashboards, when your users view your dashboards, they're able to, again, focus on the items that matter, the actionable information. What are those items that are unhealthy? Our summary statistics table, again, is something we've had a lot of positive feedback on and continuing to push the bar there, especially for our eHealth customers. We've added multiple percentiles to our summary statistics. So now within the summary statistics table, we're going to automatically provide percentile information for the various metrics chosen and not just show the 95th. And we're also, to drive that simplicity, we're not going to require the user to figure out which percentiles they're collecting for each thing and select them. Rather, we're going to do that automatically. The system knows about what's configured, so we want to surface that intelligence and, again, drive more operational simplicity. We've added a concept called our maintenance windows, and these are basically annotations, and these are tied to site groups similar to our business hours, but this allows you to either retroactively or proactively provide periods of annotation so that when users are viewing a dashboard for a particular site group, they're able to very easily understand if there is an event or if there was something that they should be aware of, again, driving more context to the user. Data is great. Data without context is just noise. So being able to drive that contextual information to understand what may have been going on during a given time frame is something that's critical. So here's a brief screenshot, and I'll show more on the in our examples of, again, just providing more annotation, more contextual information so the user can understand the data they're viewing better. So let me show you a few of the things we got going on here. All right, so the first thing I'm going to show, we're going to look at the context pages. So if I go into my inventory, let me pick a group that has stuff. And I see I have all of my devices in here. I can go into one of these devices in my context page, and a lot of people don't know, but you can right-click, and you can go directly to a section. So here I see I have various sections, CBQOS, interface information. Let's just, what you're going to notice is not here are sections that are not relevant to a router. Previously, if you had other data sources, eHealth data sources would show up here, all sorts of things that are unrelated. Now, the data that you're seeing here is going to be available for that item. We're filtering at the metric family level, so if an item supports that metric family, we're going to show it. We're going to continue to look at doing additional filtering at the vendor certification level, but for now we're focusing on that aspect of things. So here you can see I can very quickly get to data for that particular device. We did some other changes in the context pages that I didn't specifically call out. And what I want to show you guys those because they're pretty exciting. So here I'm looking at a group with a number of devices that have business hours associated to them. In releases prior to 3.0, business hours were not supported on context pages. We did some shading, but it wasn't completely carried forward. So I know this device belongs to a group that has business hours applied. So what I can do very easily now within the product is I can go within my context pages and to my charts I can apply business hours specifically. So I have no business hours applied, but I can apply any business hours for that device related to sites that it is a member of. So very simply, I can go ahead and add my business hour information directly to my context pages with just a single click. Or if I want to remove those business hours, again, to get a view of that data for 24/7, I can do that as well and very easily be able to toggle back and forth and to drive, again, more operational intelligence. Sticking with the context pages for another minute, some really neat things. We've added some new role permissions. You'll notice there's this little edit dialog here. So on a device now, I can actually, in my context page, I can update the IP address, or I can even update the alias of a device directly within CAPC. No more having to do this all through REST. Again, these are all controlled by user permissions. We'll see the alias immediately updated. We also will track events related to things that are changing for that particular device. So when we update the alias information, we'll generate an event as well, indicating for an audit chain purpose that the alias was changed and who changed it. Interfaces will also allow you to change alias information, but they're going to provide the ability to override the speeds as well. Again, these are all controllable through role controls to make sure we're giving you the appropriate granularity when you're providing these permissions. Multi-metric scorecard that I touched on quickly, showing you the ability to, in this case, I'm looking at interface health information. So here I can look at utilization information, error information, discard information, all in one scorecard. And again, I can define my thresholds based on each individual metric. And if I remove a metric, we'll automatically take care of updating that so that you're always provided with a simple UI that's going to give you the ability to go in and make changes very quickly and very easily to continue to refine that user experience. We talked about our summary statistics reports. So for example, if I look at my interface metric family, I notice that I have various percentile calculations defined for my bits per second. I have 95th, 90th, and 98th. And for utilization, I also have percentiles defined, and those are defined 95th, 50th for the median, and 75%. So if I look at my summary statistics view, this is the summary statistics by item for a single metric. So my utilization metric that I had defined multiple percentiles, I now will automatically get those percentiles in my summary statistics report. If I do not want to see them, I can easily simply hide that column, and then I'll only see those percentiles that are applicable for what I'm looking at. Again, driving more simplicity. For situations where there are multiple percentiles defined, we still want to be able to bring all that information to the surface and make it easy to do so. So now we'll provide all of the percentile information, even if they differ from metric to metric. So we can see here I'm looking at CPU and memory utilization, interface in and out utilization, and bits per second, all of these with unique percentiles defined. 95th is a common percentile, so it gets its own column, but then we have our custom percentiles, and we'll easily label which percentile it is, 90, 50, 98, 75. That information we also make available in PDF and CSV exports as well, so again, making it very, very simple to drive more operational intelligence in the product. Next part I want to show you is related to our site maintenance indicators. So as I mentioned, we added new annotation options. So here's an example where I'm creating a couple of site maintenance events that happened in the past. And this is, I'm looking at my Cyber Monday. So we all know after Thanksgiving, there's Black Friday and Cyber Monday. So in North America and Europe, these are both sites that I want to make my operations team aware of potential increased workloads on the 28th of November on Monday, and this is Black Friday on November 25th. For North America, I want to make that aware, my team aware. So when I look at any of my dashboards for the groups that have those site filters apply, if I change my time range to say last 30 days, what I'm going to see is my maintenance indicators are going to give my team a heads up and make it very, very obvious that there was something during that time frame that they need to be aware of. So here for North America, I say I have 2 maintenance indicator windows indicating there are multiple. I can look at those very simply, showing the list to understand the dates and what the description and name were. And over here, we see that I have my Global Cyber Monday sales event. Again, very easy to see. This information, again, is always transposed in CSV and PDF export so that there's always that context information available. Again, this is not going to impact your calculations of the data, but this is to provide additional information, additional context, which is a big part of our 3.0 release, of providing more insights into the data so that it's easier to understand.
Jason, just one more minute or two as we got to leave time for Q&A and announcements.
You got it. The last thing I want to show, we talked about, is 2 things related to Open API, and these will be available on our GitHub site when 3.0 is released. Bernie showed one version. There's actually 3 versions of the weather map that have been created. I personally like this one. And this is using custom attributes and grouping, and that's really all it is. And there's not a lot of intricate setup involved. It's very simple to do. We're going to be providing a full set of instructions, but it's really easy to get a nice weather map in your environment that's fully responsive, that allows me to go in and very easily view various information related to the circuit markets between my sites. I can hover over and I can see that information reflected in the table below. I can easily show all or select specific aspects, and it's all tied to the group. So as I change my group, I change the actual contents of the map itself. Additionally, in 3.0, we added open API queries to provide advanced analytics regarding projection information. And this was to enable e-health situations to watch data creation. So we're able to now look at and provide situations to watch. When will a particular metric cross a particular threshold based upon a baseline period, based upon a data resolution, or I can predict when will a metric reach a certain point in time in the future. And this all enables another app which will be made available as well, which is our Situations to Watch app. So in this example, I'm just looking at utilization. I want to know when it crosses a threshold of 51. This is very boring data due to simulators being very flat, so I apologize for the lack of intricacy here, but when you get in your environment, I think you're going to really enjoy it. Took a lot of homage from the way eHealth did it and compared the actual value versus the predicted value. This gives you a sense of how consistent your data is, and then basically based across that threshold. And is it increasing or decreasing? And being able to very quickly, as eHealth did, understand when are my items that I'm monitoring going to cross very specific thresholds. All right, like I said, there's a heck of a lot more in 3.0. This really scratches the surface, but wanted to make sure everyone was aware. Going to spend one more minute real fast to leave time for some questions about some other feature areas. So we added an aspect of CA Performance Management Lite. So we know we had a lot of customers that were a little leery of the footprint. We added the ability to filter metrics so that you can really control your data repository usage. And we also wanted to understand what we could do about reducing the overall footprint. So we've offered a new CA Performance Management Lite offering. Same product, everything's the same. The installation is going to be a little different because you're going to do a data aggregator and data collector on a single system. It requires only 3 systems, and you can monitor up to 150,000 monitored items, which is about 4,000 devices. So you're getting the full product, nothing's changed, it's just a deployment variation in a limiting of the number of total items you can monitor. We're really excited to be able to do this. We think this is starting to really strike a balance, and with the ability to filter metrics and to reduce the footprint, again, decreasing that total cost of ownership. As we scale, both providing simpler scale on the low end, we're also scaling at the high end. So being able to scale to 4 million items is allowing us to do very interesting things, monitoring all the way to the customer edge. We're working with a very large cable provider in Australia, and we are actually monitoring all the way to the home devices themselves. So from the head end, from the backhaul to the head end, all the way to the customer device, this cable provider is now able to assure their services and understand performance of their customers at a very granular level, all the way down to the home equipment themselves, to make it a lot easier to solve problems, to understand congestion, and to be able to better plan capacity requirements. As I mentioned, we're now up to 4 million monitored items. That's 500,000 metrics per second, pretty impressive stuff. This works across all core services of the product. Again, concurrency, open API. When we scale, we're scaling everything. We're not just trying to get ahead in a certain area. So 4 million items. We're looking at concurrent users. We test regularly with 100 operators on PC, as well as doing concurrent API queries at the same time. We really like to hammer the system. And for CAM, we're doing testing up to 1,000 metric families within CAM as well. So again, really providing a wide net across what we believe the necessary scale is to exceed in the environments our customers are looking to manage.